Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called Coastal Tree, 8 by 10. It was completed yesterday. What the hell? Yeah, and all my troubles seem so far away. Anyway, kind of a challenging tree, I'll be honest with you. There's most of the trees out here in New Zealand are some sort of pine. I honestly don't know what kind of pine this is, but I've made good paintings from this subject before, but it's kind of pointy, but I'm real happy with the way it turned out. Now, one little innovation I did here is I could have just painted sky. This is kind of the side of a hill, so I could have painted sky all the way down to the bottom. But I decided, if you kicked that hill that would have been blocking it, or if you looked just a little different, you would have seen the ocean there. So I decided, I'll pop the ocean in. There's not far that you can go here in New Zealand. You're going to be pretty close to the ocean, the whole place. It's kind of long and skinny. I think the center, at any point, the furthest you're away from water is like 150 kilometers or something like that. Anyway, we are working on a bit of MDF that's been prepped with some house paint, and that's kind of been toned to a burnt sienna. That's modified with a little raw umber to knock it back, and it worked really well. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was that I actually pulled this MDF board out of the back of a ready-made frame I'd gotten. Yeah, it was smooth and it was flat and relatively thin, but again, very flat. So it really was a beautiful surface to work on. I bailed on MDF for a long time because I'd had a flood at my studio at the Quarry Art Center in Whangarei there, and most of the pieces that I'd done on not most, a few, I would say, of the pieces I'd done in MDF that had been drowned, basically, did some warping, and but at the end of the day, it's not much different than if I was working with a water-based media, and as a matter of fact, it's quite a lot tougher than any piece of paper. So I like MDF. It's really smooth and quite stable. Way back in the old days, I was working on marine ply, and the problem with that is I had so much tension in it; it was always warping. Which isn't a problem if you've got the piece in the frame, but when I started selling things off the store and my site and shipping them all over the planet, I didn't want to ship anybody something that was a bit warped, so I ended up moving to this solution. And then later on to hardboard, which is my preference, but the thing is with the hardboard is it's smooth, but it's not as smooth as the MDF. I really like that smooth. Let's talk about the sky here. So you can see the reference image for this session in the members area. It comes up at the beginning of the video. And also I flash it up on the screen after that and talk about the potential issues I think there will be with the reference. And one of the issues here was that the sky was really saturated, so I wanted it to have that really fresh, saturated feeling, but I didn't want to go too far. And it's really easy, say with a color like phthalo blue, to go too far. In fact, it's easy with all your tube colors to go too far, have too much saturation. And now, if you're in the members area, you're going to get the color mixing session in a lot of cases. Or if I'm not doing that, I'm just talking about what I'm doing. But one of the innovations that I came up with, I'm not saying I invented it, but no one taught it to me. So for me, it's an innovation. Is that these colors, as they come out of the tube, there's a lot of ways that you can modify them to get them feel more natural. There's complementary color theory, which would be that you would bring in a bit of the complementary. So if it was too green, you might add some red. The problem with that is that complementary colors, when you're talking about light, that's all good. Colors stay quite pure. But when you're talking about paint, what you really get is brown, muddy colors. So I do utilize complementary color theory, but I don't think it works very well for modifying colors to make them more natural. What I like to do is, this is one of the main reasons I have, say, raw umber on my palette. Ah, well, we just went blowing by the book there. But if you're interested in the book, 13 years of accumulated painting knowledge in there. Really 10 condensed, but, before I started that book. But really trying to figure out how to paint in this tonal manner. There was some guidance. I had some guidance from old Burge Harrison. He wrote a book, and another bit of guidance from, his name's escaping me at the moment. But, other than that, I kind of had to figure it out. But getting back into this color thing, yeah, buy the book. I'll ship it to you anywhere on the planet, $60 US. And so far, I'm holding the line on that. I did just place an order with the printer, and I don't know what the damage is going to be. But if they don't raise their prices, then I'm going to leave it. That's all good. And we shipped out a couple this week. Thanks for that. Thanks for the support. It's all really awesome. You'll really enjoy it. Anyway, getting back into, so this is one of the things I would cover in the book when I'm talking about, and I've talked about a lot in the channel, and one of the reasons for the book was like, there's lots of information on the channel, but it's all scattered over thousands of videos. So the great thing about the book is it's all in one spot. If you think you read it, then you can go back to it. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to kill the blue in the sky. It was too saturated. So what I did was I added raw umber, and I think I added a little bit of black as well. Now I could have just done black, which would have given me, I call it color killing or desaturation, more natural color. The raw umber into the blues for the sky works amazing, and actually, I really tend to think of raw umber as a yellow. It's a very deep, dark yellow. That's how I think of it. And it has greenish tendencies, but it tends to work fine for the sky. Now, if I wanted to kill the color in a cool way, I'll add in the ivory black. And so one of the two of those will be used to dirty up my color, which is another way of saying the same thing as killing the color. And I used it in that aqua you see me painting now. I added raw umber into that. Yeah. I do that all the time because you really don't want to use colors super saturated like they come out of the tube. You knew it already. But a lot of times people don't know. They don't realize. They're just painting along. We got this. They think, oh, that grass is so bright. I really need to get that across. And that's bright. The tree's bright. By bright, I mean saturated. Everything's saturated. If everything is saturated in your painting, the overall effect is completely and utterly amateurish. Maybe you have a style where that's where you're headed, but even there, you need to be pretty intelligent about things like color saturation. The best thing to do is like when I do these little coastal trees that have the red flowers. That's one place I'll put pure cad red in there, but that's a lot of saturation, but it's a specific job that requires that for the most part. Another place is I might break out the old permanent green light, which is like screamingly bright and saturated. Use that on a bit of grass, but even there I'm going to modify it. In fact, one of my favorite things to modify the permanent green light with is orange, cadmium orange, which doesn't darken it all that much, but it does knock it back. It does ameliorate the color. All your millions and zillions of colors that you see in front of you in nature are mixtures and combinations of various tones. That's something you always need to address when you're painting. And what I do is basically I mix in that raw umber or a little bit of the ivory black, or sometimes it might be white is a great color killer too, or say if my green's too bright, I can use that there. I would use the complementary color theory, but I use it in a sort of adjacent manner where I would bring in the red iron oxide, aka burnt sienna from Winsor Newton Winton. That's the burnt sienna I've been using these days. That does a great job of kind of knocking the red back, but because it's a brownish red, it doesn't really muddy it up, and it's also quite a transparent color too. That's another thing, the the amount of opacity in the colors when you're adding. So on my palette, I have that burnt sienna tone I was just talking to you about. That's really red iron oxide, and it's very transparent. Beautiful reddish brown. Right next to it on my palette, I have a color called Mars Violet, and just looking at it from your point of view, from the video camera angle, they don't seem all that much different, but there's a huge difference, and that difference is opacity. The Mars Violet is extremely opaque, and it has actually I used it quite a lot in this painting. It got and I remember talking to the members as I was doing the painting, saying, "Oh, I just love Mars Violet." And the reason I love Mars Violet is because old Norman Rockwell used that for his underpaintings, and it's a really beautiful color. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot of applications for it, but I keep it on my palette anyway for those reasons, because I think it's beautiful. I did try putting it in one of my greens the other day, and it just made it chalky and ugly and muddy. I mean, it didn't do the same job that the red iron oxide did. But for the jobs that it's good for, it's great, and it's a really beautiful color. They call it Mars Violet, but it's really kind of a brownish red, you know. Which, interestingly, talking about the bit of this painting we're doing now, it was, it's sort of like rocks, but they're covered with some little tiny plants. And I didn't want to get, that's the other, we got a minute here. In the members area, I talk quite a lot when I'm doing this. I'm talking a lot about painting rocks. I'm really proud of the way these came out. I've gotten much better at painting rocks and things, in the last few years. One of the most challenging things to paint in the landscape is rocks. And now you could come back at me and say, "Oh, Mike, you said everything's just shapes, da 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 da." Well, that's true, but some things are more difficult to paint than others, and the reason is like rocks. Okay, if you start to get real delineate-y and you breaking everything down in those rocks and really doing some drafting and working it all out, then your rocks, instead of being an incidental element of the painting, they become a focus. That's happened to me before, and the rocks look great, but they look there's too much time and attention that's been put into them, and so they become a focal point. Now, I think these rocks actually function as a bit of a focal point too with the tree. But it's more because of the interesting and beautiful colors I put in them, which, was me riffing off the reference. There were some oranges in there. I just took it further. There was some reds in there. I just took that further. And down below, that area I was talking about, that's a place where I decided to use a bit of that Mars Violet. And also, one of the things I kind of thought was, well, I'll just paint this really thin, since I was working on that red board. So it is painted a bit thinner than some of the other things in the painting, and that ended up being a good approach, and it really did work well. Anyway, that's it for this middle of the week video, and I hope you are having a good one. I hope you're getting some painting done, and I hope you got some value from this video. And if you did, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do, and if you didn't, well, you got pretty far, didn't you? Anyway, until I come back with another video for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid, take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble. God bless you and your family, and please fight the power.